hear me, that's wonderful. I want to say welcome to everybody. It's 6:01, so I like to reward those who showed up on time by starting on time. So I just want to say welcome, and I am so honored and humbled that you are here and sharing this time with me, because I know some of you are some places where it's not 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock where I am in Arizona, but I know that some of you are, I know Indiana, never can get clear on the time zone in Indiana, but I know it's later, and I appreciate your being here. We're going to explore today how to be happy in no extra time, even if you're experiencing symptoms of depression. And if you are experiencing symptoms of depression, my heart goes out to you. I was clinically depressed for 30 years, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But part of the reason I'm doing this class and the work that I do is that I want to share with people how I got out of my clinical depression and have stayed out for a couple of decades. So got some fun stuff coming. And the reason I labeled this no extra time, how to be happy in no extra time, is that I know one of the things that's happening right now is that you don't have any extra time. You would think with COVID and all of this that things might get a little bit easier if you're not commuting, for example. And they haven't. Everybody I talk to says they're actually much more complicated. And if you are going into work, that's a whole kettle of fish as well. So I just want to acknowledge that we're all busy. You're much busier than I am, I bet, because I don't have a family anymore to take care of, and some of you do. But look, I'm asking you to approach this class with an open heart. I can never do that right. I'm bad at that. But anyhow, an open heart. And because if you're looking for a solution, you will find one. But if you're here with skepticism and doubt, it's going to be a whole lot tougher. So try to keep your heart open as I share some things with you today. And, you know, if you walk away with just one thing that will give you some relief, I will consider my job done. But if you walk away with a couple of things, yay, that would be really great. That's like bonus, bonus, bonus. So keep your heart open and let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you because I do have slides. So here we go. Oh, I love technology when it works, don't you? Okay, so if you want to share anything in the chat, you can do that. There is a Q&A at the end of the session, so if you want to put any questions in the Q&A, go ahead and do that. But if you just want to, you know, say thumbs up or laugh, LOL, or anything like that, you know, go ahead and put that in the chat, and everybody can see it. So just be careful. So here we go. That's my glam shot. That's, you know, we all love our glam shots when we have them. But here's what I'm going to share with you tonight in our time together. If I can get, here we go. Got to put the cursor on the right place here. Okay. So I'm going to show you some ways to quiet your inner critic, because we all have this inner critic living inside of us who's not our friend. And you know what? I don't know whether we're born with an inner critic, because nobody's been able to interview infants to find out if they've got that chatter going on in their head. But I do know somewhere along the way, we pick up this inner critic that is not nice to us. And so I'm going to show you some ways to quiet your inner critic and to tap into your inner cheerleader, because, you know, your inner critic usually has its you know, its foot on the foot of the inner cheerleader, stomping on it, telling him or her to just shut up. And you want to let your inner cheerleader out. So let's look at some ways to do that. Now, by the end of our time together, you'll have 3 easy to apply, no extra time need strategies, guaranteed to quickly lift you from a low mood to a good mood. So I'm not even using the word happy here. I'm using the word mood because I think we can relate to, you know, being in a low mood or a good mood. And let's make that our first goal, instead of trying to go from wherever we are straight to happy, because that's not the way it worked for me. I can tell you that. So I have a bonus for you. If you stay till the end of the program, I have a bonus for you. I will send you a PDF of my book, Change Your Focus, Change Your Outlook. And this is a testimonial from one of my readers. And I just want to reward you for hanging in there, because I'm going to At the end of this, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a program I've got coming up, and I would really love it if you could stay for that and let me know what you think of it. So that's your bonus. And you get the bonus just for staying on this class, not whether you buy anything or any of that. I don't like to play those games. Whoops, went the wrong way. So what I'm going to ask you to do is not be distracted. So look, we all think we can multitask. I mean, we just do, and it's just a lie. We can't do it. You can't be here and there at the same time. It's impossible unless you're on Star Trek and you got that thing that beams you up. So let's turn away from the mail. Let's if you've got distractions around you, see if you can't somehow tune them out. If you've got your phone near you and you're going to check the news or whatever, just put it down. Because one of my goals for this class is that you just calm down while we're together. And you're not going to be calm. You're not going to be calmer if you're multitasking. It just doesn't work that way. So now, if you've got kids running in and out and all that, I understand. So you do what you can. And if you have an aerialist in the near vicinity, see if you can't even turn blinders to that, because that's what's required to be here now, which is mindfulness. So you're in the right place if you are a giver who's always thinking of the needs of others before your own. Put into the chat if that's a description of you. Just put yes or why, it doesn't matter. You're a giver who's always thinking of the needs of others before your own. And let's face it, you love supporting them, but sometimes you grow weary and you ask, what about my needs? Yeah, I'm getting a lot of yeses here. What about my needs? So you're also in the right place if you want to figure out a way to be happier in the midst of so many demands. I mean, right now, it is really crazy. And if you are a parent with children at home, a dog, a spouse, whatever it happens to be, it's just a little bit crazy. Not a little bit, it's a lot crazy now. So when I had my family, I had 2 teenage foster daughters who I had adopted from California foster care system. We had a dog, 2 cats. I had my spouse and my husband, and I was working full time and then some. And I can relate to just how crazy that gets. So if you want to figure out a way to be happier in the midst of demands, you're in the right place, because I can certainly help with that. Also, you might be a frontline worker who spends your work hours caring for others, and then you go home and you're doing the same thing. When I had, the menagerie that I just mentioned, I also had living with us my elderly mother-in-law who was bedridden, and we were taking care of her. And it's a lot. And I want you to know that when this happened, I was actually out of my depression, and it was so much easier. And I'm going to share some of that with you as much as I can tonight. I'm going to share that with you. But there's a whole lot that I have to share with you. So later on, I'm going to tell you about a course I've put together that has all my 30 years of how I recovered from depression and stayed there. So that'll come toward the end of this class. But it was a little bit crazy for me. And if you're and look, frontline workers, I don't just count nurses and doctors or firefighters and police officers there. We have people from workforce development here. That's frontline workers for sure. The grocery clerks, when you go into the grocery store, they're frontline workers. You know whether you're a frontline worker or not. And usually the definition I think of is if you're interacting with people during the day as part of your job, then you, my friend, are a frontline worker. And then you're also in the right place if you're suffering from symptoms of depression and you need some tools to cope with your challenges. So, I can tell you that I've been where you are, and I know how awful it is. But I also want to be a beacon of hope for you, because I'm telling you that I was a hot mess. Not only was I depressed, I also was drinking like a crazy person. Well, actually drinking like an alcoholic, which is what I am. So, if you're suffering and you're looking for answers to some of that, I can tell you that what I share tonight whatever you implement won't hurt you, and it will certainly help you if you can implement it. So let's go. This is my story. This is me telling you why I qualified to talk to you about this. This is me when I was 7 years old. And you can tell by my eyes and just by my demeanor that I was really sad. And I was probably a couple of years into my depression at this point. My clinical depression started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I didn't know it at the time, but my therapist, tells me that that's when it started. And it started when I was repeatedly abused by my best friend's father. And I'm not going to, bore you with a lot of details about my childhood, but I'm going to tell you some because you might relate to some of them, and that's why I'm sharing them. I used books to hide out in. Anybody here use books to hide out in? I was, always had a book in my face because I didn't want to deal with life as it was. I wanted to live in the fantasy world of books. And God bless authors who gave that to me, because I don't know how I would have survived without those books. I slept a lot. I did marathons. Olivia said yes to books, Lynn too. I was sick a lot, up until I recovered from my clinical depression. I was sick a lot. And I know it has a lot to do with my depression and the fact that I was so unhappy. Excuse me a minute. I was described as overly sensitive. Put into the chat if anybody's ever said to you, you're overly sensitive. And I was overly sensitive for sure. I was always in trouble at school. I was like an angry rebel. I started in the first grade. In the third grade, I had a teacher who I had grown up with. It was a small town. So I thought I could get away with anything with her, Mrs. Bouchard. And the truth is, about a week into the class, she couldn't get me to shut up and disrupt it and stop disrupting the class. So she moved my entire desk and chair out into the hallway so I could do my work out there. So I was a rebel without a cause, for sure. At age 14, I fell in love with alcohol. I figured out how to steal liquor from my dad's cabinet, and little baby jars, because there was always baby jars around. It was an Irish Catholic neighborhood, so there was a lot of babies. And my love affair with alcohol was my first experience with unrequited love, because I loved it, but it did not love me, I have to tell you. So in my 20s, things were really awful. My 20s and early 30s, I was now an adult. And so I was drinking a lot. I was working. I was hungover at work. I was just a hot mess. And I kept hoping, I felt like these people in the maze. I kept hoping that somebody would give me the guidebook to life, because I was sure that all of you had gotten a guidebook to life and somebody had forgotten to give me mine. Probably my older sister swiped it. She was always doing that. And later on, when I did recover from everything, I realized that if I hadn't gotten the guidebook to life, there's probably a lot of people out there who haven't gotten the guidebook either. So I want to share with you the things that I have learned along the way, so you don't have to go through 30 years of hell like I did, or don't have to continue going through. So now I have this incredible roadmap that really is sort of smooth sailing for me. I love roller coasters. And so I love this road because it really represents what life is like. You go up and then you go down, you go up and you go down. But for me, even the down is like, woo, because it's just fun. And I'm not saying I don't have my low points. I do from time to time, but they don't last long. I mean, if you think about it, I had a low point that lasted for 30 years. And now I can't stay down for more than a couple of hours before I absolutely have to do something about it. And that's enormous, but it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time, and it'll happen over time for you as well. And I'm sure you've discovered that in your life. So now I'm in my 60s. I know, hard to believe. And I have this passion project where I want to share this with as many people as possible. So that's why I'm having these free classes. I want to squeeze my decades of learning in. I have squeezed my decades of learning into a course that I'll tell you about a little bit later. And I just want to share it with the world. So can you imagine having all the demands you have now and taking it all in stride? Put into the chat if you can imagine that, because it does require that you be able to imagine that. And if you can't imagine that now, I want you to, really use this class to figure out a way that you can start envisioning a future where, despite the external factors in your life, that you can take things in stride. And I'm telling you, oh, good. Zoom user Thompson, I'm sorry. Tell me your first name because I know we've met. She says yes, that she can imagine it, which is great. So Pat, of course, Pat, hi. So it's possible, but it's not easy at first, but very, very possible. So the first thing you need to understand in order to get there is that you get more of what you focus on. So part of what we're going to talk about is how to shift the lens through which you see the world so that you see things that you want instead of what you don't want. And this is the major mindset that all happy people share. And they embrace this to live consistently happy lives, no matter the circumstances. And that's really important because, look, if you're waiting for circumstances to line up to be happy, you're going to wait a whole lot of time. So by learning exactly how to manage your focus, your life will get better and quickly. I mean, when I finally grasped this, it happened fast. It happened fast. And I don't have time to tell you tonight about my epiphany, but that's part of what I talk about in the larger course because it really was what shifted everything for me. And it has to do with shifting my focus to one of the martyr victim to being grateful. Grateful is a huge, huge thing. Now, one of the things you need to know when you think about you get more of what you focus on, darn it, I keep doing that, is that the universe or God or whoever you pray to, or whoever you ask for things when you're saying please, does not hear the word no. So the simplest example I can give you of that is we're in the middle of this COVID-19 epidemic. And I guess pandemic it's called now. And some of you are probably praying not to get COVID-19. The problem is that the universe doesn't hear the word no, it just knows what you're focused on. So if you're focused on pushing COVID-19 away, you're actually bringing it closer. And so you don't want to pray not to get COVID-19, you want to pray to be healthy. Because your focus when you're praying to be healthy is on health and you get more of what you focus on. It sounds like semantics, and I promise you it is not. Anything you are pushing against, you get more of. And I spent 30 years pushing against the world at large. I didn't like anything. I was an angry feminist. I was an angry drunk. I had a chip on my shoulder at work. I was always pushing against everything. And the world was delivering to me all the stuff I didn't want. A boss I didn't get along with, parents who didn't approve of me, all the things that I didn't want, I kept getting more of, including being sick a lot, physically sick. So, you're really in the scheme of things, what you want to always keep your focus on is what you want. And if you're like me and you've had a lifetime of pushing against what you don't want, it's probably hard for you to answer the question, what is it you want? But here's the easy way to find out. Just look at what you don't want. And the opposite of that is what you do want. So I have a friend of mine who her house looks like she was burglarized or robbed. I mean, it's always a mess and she hates it. But her whole attention is always on how awful her house is and how messy it is. And I can't seem to get her to focus on a neat house. She's always pushing against what is, instead of accepting that this is the way it is and turning her back on that and saying, okay, what is it that I want? So put in the chat if this is making sense to you, because I mean, I love this technology and I love being able to deliver this to you. And I can't see you. So your chat's the only way of telling me that that you're not buying into this, but you agree with this or don't agree. If you don't agree, please put that in the chat and we'll talk about it. So so one of the 3 secrets that I promised I was going to teach you is that your mind doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality. So Sylvia and Olivia both say, makes sense. I love that. 2 names that end in via. Who would have guessed? So your mind doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality. So these kids are watching a scary movie and they are freaking out because they think it's happening to them. And when I discovered this secret was when I was already recovered from depression. And one day I was in a really foul mood. And you know, a foul mood is different than a bad mood. It's foul. And so I couldn't figure out what was wrong because my life was fine. Everything was going fine. And then I realized that I had been listening to a book on tape. And, you know, I don't know if you've listened to books on tape, but they now have actors doing it. So they act out all the parts and they're really cool. And this particular book was by James Patterson, who is a crime writer. And in it, he has torture scenes, and, shooting and knifing and all this stuff. And he's a really good writer. And so my mind thought I was in the book, living through all that because I was just transported. And so the minute I discovered that's what was putting me in a foul mood, I just stopped reading it. I to this day, I don't know what happened and I don't care because I just don't feed my mind what I don't want more of. And that's one of the things I cover in the larger course is what to feed your mind. That's a whole conversation. But just keep in mind that your mind doesn't know, or your brain doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality. So for example, when you worry about stuff, I know you're worriers and we all are at some point, but when you're worried about something, your brain thinks it's actually happening and it sends all those stress chemicals into your body because it thinks that you're experiencing what it is that you're worried about. Worry is just so bad for you. Now, let's say you're completely overwhelmed. Been there. I know you all have been there too. What you want, this is when your inner critic kicks in, by the way. Your inner critic, when you're overwhelmed, starts whispering to you, you know, what a loser you are, that you can't handle things, you know, stop being such a big baby, whatever yours says to you. But your inner critic goes after you, and that's what makes you overwhelmed. And you want to find a way to focus on something that's working. And there's always something that's working. So you want to take a little inventory, you know, are you healthy? Yes, that's great. Are you partially healthy? I mean, you know, sometimes we have something, but the rest, you know, maybe 10% of our body's not functioning well, but the rest is. Do you have a roof over your head at night? Do you have a job? Do you have food to eat? Whatever it happens to be, find things in your life that are working and put your focus there. Take an inventory and calm that inner critic because overwhelm is a story that we tell ourselves. It's what we label something that's happening to us. And it's just a story. It's just a story. We've had things going on in our lives. Let's think about, like, if any of you have ever had children, when you first bring that baby home, you're in overwhelm, but it's a happy kind of overwhelm. It's not, you know, it's a different label that you put on it. It's like, whoa, you know, I love this little thing so much. And what do I do with it? So it's just sharing, just shifting the story that you're telling yourself. And you want to quit telling the story. Like, don't repeat to yourself like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. You're saying mantras that don't serve you at all, or talking to other people about how overwhelmed you are. I mean, in our society, I don't know if you've ever seen the Saturday Night Live character, Debbie Downer, but she always had a contest with everybody about how bad things were. So if you said to her, oh my gosh, my brother got in a car accident last week and he broke his leg, she might say, oh, well, you know, my whole family got wiped out in a car accident. I mean, she always had something that was worse. And in our society, we don't share with each other what's going well, we share with each other what's going wrong, and it just reinforces it and attracts more of it to you. So if you're overwhelmed, start looking for areas where you're functioning well and grow that. Put your focus on that and start. The other thing that you want to do is reassure the little child inside of you who is flipping out. When you're overwhelmed, when you're in any kind of fear, it's your inner child flipping out in fear and thinking that you're not going to take care of him or her. And so, one of the things I cover in my larger course is how to work with your inner child, because it completely changed my life when I learned how to do that. But for now, just use some self-talk with your inner child to calm him or her down and watch what happens to the overwhelm. Now, one of the key findings that they've had about happiness is that happiness creates success, not the other way around. So some of you are putting off happiness for events to happen, like, when I win the lottery, or when I retire, when I have a baby, when the kids leave, when I get married, when I get divorced, then I'll be happy. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't work that way. In fact, one of my mentors, Esther Hicks, says, there can be no happy ending to an unhappy journey. Because remember, when you're on an unhappy journey, your focus all the time is on your unhappiness. And to think that you'll get to the end of it and when it's over, you'll be happy, it doesn't work that way. And so if you have a job that you hate, you want to really figure out a way to start liking it. And I say that, I don't say go get another job, because until you start turning your attitude or shift your focus, the lens through which you see that job into a more positive aspect, even if you go get another job, you'll have the same problems there. So you really want to shift the lens through which you view everything, because your mind doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality. So now, one of the reasons happiness creates success is that when you are happy, some of the things they've discovered about happy people is, hang on a second, I got to clear my throat, is that they have more energy, they're more resilient, they have better creativity, problem solving skills, etc. So if you think about it, it takes a lot of energy to be unhappy. It takes a lot of energy to be depressed. I have to tell you, I was exhausted all the time when I was depressed, because I was always pushing against. I was just tired, fatigued. And now that I'm happy, my problem solving skills are amazing. And this is your inner cheerleader coming to life. When I took care of my mother-in-law, it was really, I had never done anything like that before. And I had to do wound management. She'd had a stroke, and I had to learn how to, get her on the toilet and all that. I mean, it was real nursing kind of stuff. And I got to tell you, because I was so happy in my being at the time, that I came up with all these incredible solutions to problems that I never would have come up with when I was down all the time. So I say that to just, again, give you a vision of what can happen when you are happier. And I'm here to tell you that it's completely possible, completely. Now, secret number 2 is your thoughts cannot be controlled by anyone but you. So your thoughts don't just happen to you. Well, they might. We don't really know how they get there, but we know how they stay there is that you feed them. Some of you feed them Miracle-Gro. And so if you're going to feed your thoughts Miracle-Gro, start feeding the happy thoughts Miracle-Gro. And this all has to do with noticing what's good in life and noticing, looking around, because there's so much. And we just are always focused on what's not working. So your thoughts are where your happiness journey starts. And nobody can control them but you. And there's all sorts of examples of this. Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank, which was written when she was hiding in an attic with her family from the Germans because she was Jewish. If you read her diary, it's full of hope. It's full of her looking for good things instead of looking for darkness all the time. So no matter how dark your external circumstances are, if you can find some things to be happy about and put your full focus on there as much as possible, then it will be like a snowball. I'm telling you, it's amazing how this happens. But Silver, I'm surrounded by negative people. Don't join them. Look, even if I hear about this a lot because I do a lot of corporate work and work with, government. I hear a lot, those people I work with are so negative. Well, you don't have to you don't have to catch it. Imagine, we have the face masks to protect us against COVID. You can put an imaginary mask on your brain and not let their negativity get on you or in you. And the way that you can do that is that you can just think the thoughts that you want to think. Now, you probably don't want to be an outcast. So maybe you're still there with them, but you don't have to participate. You don't have to get into that, this conversation with them about how awful things are. And so, one of the things that I love to recommend to families who eat together, and my husband and I do this on a regular basis, is to ask at your meal each night, what was the best part of your day? Or what was one of the best parts of your day? Instead of complaining about our days. So this will turn your mind from foe to friend. I love that word, foe. And you can make steady progress toward feeling more appreciated, more loved, and more recognized. It's really, again, magically your thoughts. They're like magnets. And so you want to really be careful what you're drawing to you. Now, some of you might think, well, I just want some appreciation. If I had some appreciation, that would make me happy. Because if you're a giver, you often feel unappreciated. But here's the question I have to pose to you. Do you appreciate yourself? Do you appreciate yourself? Because you cannot attract from somebody else what you won't give to yourself. So if your inner critic is always telling you what a piece of garbage you are, or that you're not worth appreciating or whatever, then you can't attract somebody else who appreciates you. And even if they do appreciate you, you can't see it because of that inner critic that's gotten in your head. So you want to feed your inner cheerleader and look for things that you appreciate about yourself. And there are so many great things about you. Now, again, there's a lot of memories I have of how things get driven home for me. This particular one got driven home for me when I was in the grocery. I had always wanted to have a husband who brought me flowers on a regular basis. And so I was in the grocery store one day and I saw this beautiful bouquet of flowers. And at that time I could afford to buy it. And I thought, oh, that's really pretty. I should buy that for myself. And my next thought, my inner critic chimed in and said, oh, no, it's too expensive. No, don't do it. And I didn't do it. I mean, so I wanted a husband who brought me flowers on a regular basis, but I couldn't give it to myself. How many of you can think of circumstances in your life that match that? If you want appreciation, if you want gratitude, if you want love, whatever it is that you want, you have to be willing to give it to yourself first. Yeah, somebody says, ha ha, bad. Now, the third secret is that your mind lies to you all the time. This is your inner critic. It lies to you all the time. And your emotions tell you the truth. So we all have this inner guide inside of us. Some call it intuition, some call it soul, some call it gut instinct, whatever it is you call it. We have this inner guidance system. And it's always steering us in the direction of happiness. And so when you experience negative emotion, it is your inner guide saying to you, you're focused on something I don't agree with. So you're focused on something that your inner critic is saying to you, and you're allowing your inner critic to talk to you that way. And your inner guide is saying to you, no, I don't agree with that. That's not true. And you feel negative emotion. When you feel positive emotion, it's your inner guide or maybe your inner cheerleader saying, yes, that's it, stay there. If you stay focused there, you're really going to like what you attract, what comes your way. So turns out that pursuing happiness is not a trivial goal. And just remember, your mind lies to you all the time. I can tell you, as a recovering alcoholic, that my mind tells me all the time that I'm not really an alcoholic because it wants its drink. Or, if I'm on a diet, my inner critic tells me, oh, what difference does it make? You're fat, just eat that. My inner cheerleader says, no. So just keep that in mind. So, look, here's the question. Have you ever felt guilty after eating an apple? No, because your inner cheerleader is saying to you, way to go, that's great. But after you eat a donut, you feel terrible. And that's because your inner critic has taken over and said, see, I knew you couldn't do it. You're so weak. I have a strong inner critic. And I'm trying to make him funnier because I want to laugh. So remember, your mind lies to you all the time. And here's the key. You can argue with your mind. Don't do it out loud because they might lock you up. But you could argue with your mind. You don't have to believe everything it says. So the other thing is that we often talk about, I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be selfish. Well, the thing is that you have to, first of all, figure out whether it's you feeling like you're being selfish or somebody telling you you're being selfish. Because usually if somebody's telling you you're being selfish, it's because you won't do something that they want you to do. So they try to guilt you into it. But selfishness is, I bought a book when I was newly into my recovery, and I picked it up at a yard sale for like 10 cents, and it was called The Art of Selfishness. And I picked it up because I just was fascinated by, that, because selfish is such a negative connotation. And it was written by a therapist who said that in all his years of practice, the most damage he has seen one human being do to another is when the first person gives up a dream because they want to please the second person, and then they're miserable for the rest of their lives, and subconsciously they punish the person who asked them to give up their dream. And so, let's say you wanted to be a doctor and your mother always wanted you to be a lawyer, and you decide to be a lawyer, and then you're miserable for the rest of your life, and you have a strained relationship with your mother, and you can't figure out why. Well, that's why. Even if you say to yourself, well, it was my decision to make. Yes, it was, but it just damaged that relationship. So really look and see whether, when people ask you to do something, is this something I want to do, or is it something they want me to do? Now, if you're at work, I get it. You have to do what they say. But really look and see when somebody's telling you you're being selfish, look to see where that's coming from. Now, the brilliance of 12-step groups is that they have figured out that most of us are, especially alcoholics, are very self-centered. And so they have figured out a way to help people get sober by working with others. And so when somebody works, let's say I was mentoring somebody to recover from alcoholism, the reason that I would do it is not because I'm so generous or any of that with them, because I want to stay sober. And so if I work with them, it guarantees that I'll stay sober. If they stay sober too, more is the better. But that's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it so I can stay sober. So I think that we should adopt some of that in our lives. You need to do things because it's good for us. And if somebody else benefits, that's great. So, and I have a whole part of my new program that talks about service to others as a gateway to happiness. That is amazing, and certainly what I have experienced in my life. So those are the three secrets to happiness. And, the obvious question now is, would you like to live and have a happier life as quickly as possible? Because it took me 30 years, and I would love to see you have a happier life more quickly than that. So let's talk about why you're here again. Again, you're here because you're a giver. Maybe you're stressed. Maybe you're tired. You're wondering, is that all there is? Remember that Peggy Lee song? Is that all there is? Is that all there is? So that's why I'm not a singer. But if you feel like you're drowning, the first thing that people tell you when you're drowning is don't, if you're trying to save somebody who's drowning, don't go down with them. Or if you're on an airplane, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first and then help others. Because if you black out from lack of oxygen, you can't save whoever's next to you. And if it's your child or your spouse, that would be a problem. So, you're really wanting to look and see. And remember, your mind doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality. So if you start pretending that you are adapting, you're less stressed, etc., that's what happens. Now, another reason you're here is because between caring for others and caring for others at home, you're approaching or past burnout. When I cared for my mother-in-law at home, and I told you it was full nursing. I mean, I'm not a trained nurse, but it was wound care and all of this. I was really happy because I was being of service, and we used to have fun. We used to laugh together. One time I strapped on the gloves when I was going to do some wound care, and I looked down at her and I said, "Mama, you should thank God every day that I quit drinking." And we just laughed all the time. But it wasn't a drain on me because I love helping other people. But when I was depressed and focused always on, oh, poor me, I have to do this, and, being a victim, it wasn't like that at all. But it was a pure joy to take care of Mama. And yes, it was tiring, but it was a whole different experience than when you're not happy. And, maybe you're feeling depressed. We talked about that. I didn't have any strategies for coping with my depression until my late 20s. I was always looking for solutions, and I read all the self-help books. Put into the chat if you've got more than 5 self-help books on your shelf. I read all of the self-help books. And by the way, I love what George Carlin said about self-help. He said, I went into the grocery store. I went into the bookstore and I asked the lady behind the counter, "Where's your self-help section?" And she said, "Well, if I told you that, it would defeat the purpose." Anyhow, I didn't have any strategies until my late 20s. And I wish that I had. I wish that I had found a class or a course that would teach me some of this. And so now, today, I've given you a few, and I'm really hoping that they will help you if you are experiencing symptoms of depression. So you got a couple of options here. Number one, you can keep living the way that you do, getting the same results, going around and around the traffic circle. Or you can, and I love this picture, you commit 100% to creating a happier life right away using a proven roadmap. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that roadmap that I've developed. So I put together a course called How to Be Happy Again, the guide you never got. And I want you to know that I'm happy every time I look at this logo. My friend Michelle designed this logo for me, and I just think it's just adorable. I love it. And this is a course that I've put together that pulls together the decades I have of being recovered from depression and PTSD, by the way. That was part of my diagnosis. And it's got tools, it's got strategies, it's got tips and techniques. And it is it's a video course. It's self-paced, so you don't have to show up at a certain time. You can do it on your own time. And I always say it's something great if you're up worried about something in the middle of the night. You can watch this course and maybe go to sleep afterwards. But it is the first, maybe the only course of its kind that teaches you how to quickly transform low moods into good moods and how to be consistently happier. And that's always my goal, is to teach people how to be consistently happier. So by the end of this course, did I skip ahead? Yeah. By the end of the course, you will have the knowledge and tools you need to quickly elevate your mood. And there's some really fast ones that really make a difference. You will have better interpersonal relationships. And one of the things that all the researchers tell you that is the key to happiness is to have good interpersonal relationships. And if you don't have them, you will learn how to in this course. You will have less stress and more energy. Woo! Let's hear it for more energy. You will learn how to be kinder to yourself, which again is a gateway to being happier. You'll be more productive, which will certainly make your work life a whole lot easier and your home life as well. You'll develop stronger resilience. And, I love, I used to teach a course called, I still do if somebody asks me to, called Change is Inevitable, Suffering is Optional. And it's about resilience. You'll be more self-motivated. You won't always be looking to others to be your cheerleader, because you'll be in touch with your inner cheerleader and you'll be quieting down that inner critic. And you'll learn how to have more fun. So here's what you get. No, I jumped ahead here. I didn't mean to do that, but here's what you get. Basically, this is a $397 value, and it's chock full of things. One of the things I've done, which is really fun, I kind of turned like into a producer when I developed this program. I put in not only me talking, but there's slides as well. But I also put in some of my stand-up comedy, because I do stand-up comedy now, and I put in some of that. I put in some excerpts from speeches I have done. So it isn't just somebody talking to you on, because we're all get the fatigue of Zoom, maybe, but it's actually a big combination, and it's been a lot of fun to produce. I've been working with a video editor who's just amazing. And there's just a lot of really great stuff in there. And there's a bonus wrap up at the end called How Good Can You Stand It? How to Continue to Grow Your Happiness After You Take the course. And the course is yours. If you purchase it, it's forever. So you can return to it over and over again if you want to. And there's 4 modules. There's emotions, which is the most, well, they're all important. Emotions, mind, body, physiology. I will teach you how to use your body to fool your mind into being happier. And spirit, which is really the joy. It's learning how to live life joyfully. So that's a $397 value. And I'm also going to throw in, I got 10 posters that you could, different things that will remind you what to do when you're in a down mood, that you can post around your office or your house or on your bathroom mirror. And that's a $50 value that I'm throwing in. So now we're up to $437. And if I sound like an infomercial, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to. This is new for me, and I'm getting comfortable with it. So really what this course is about is how I went from that sad little girl that you see on the screen, and I was sad, to the happy person you see on the left and you see here. This isn't an act, this isn't something I put on, before I go on screen. I'm a happy camper. And it really took me, probably took me 10 or 15 years to really get used to being happy and not be fearful that it was going to go away. And that's why I don't have any tolerance now for being down for very long, because I don't want a recurrence. And so I'm very diligent about it. So then the other thing that I'm going to do, because I want to, I can't see you here, but I want to see you. And so in both November and December, I'm going to have two monthly Q&A sessions on Zoom where I can see you if you want to be seen, and we can interact, and you can bring questions or scenarios or whatever that you want to do, how to be happier, or just hang out and we'll have happy hour. But this is a $400 value right here. So now we're up to, well, let me go back here. No. Oh my gosh. This technology. So now we're up to $847 total value. So it's also backed by risk-free 10-day guarantee. So if you watch the first 2 modules and you don't think it's worth it, I will give you your money back, no questions asked. And the 10 days starts when you first log into the class. So it's not from the time you purchase it, it's from the time that you log into the class. And I have a way of knowing when you do. So it's a risk-free 10-day guarantee. So if you don't think it's worth it, you'll get your money back. So the drum roll is that I'm not charging any of those prices that you saw. I'm charging $129 to take this course. It's about a 5-hour course total. And the videos are in about 15-minute segments. So you can binge watch it. You can watch it one at a time. You can watch it any way that you want. But it's chock full of really great ideas for how to live a happier life. And look, it's not a trivial goal. It's not a trivial goal at all. Everything that you want now that you think you would make you happier, get happy first, and all those things that you want come your way. I'm telling you, I got so lucky after I got happy. All these great things started happening to me. And it's because I was wide open to that. And so, I'm really hoping that you'll take advantage of this. And by the way, somebody asked me today, they wanted to buy it as a gift for somebody. And I'm setting up a way that you can do that. So if you want to buy it as a gift for somebody, just email me, and my email address will be at the end. And just let me know. So, so there's two ways that you can do this. You can do a one-time payment of $129, or you can do 4 monthly payments of $35. And because I wanted to make it as accessible as possible for everyone. And all you have to do is go to silverhappiness.com/buy. And that's where you can do it. You can sign up for it, and you'll have access to it immediately. So I promised you a fast action bonus, and that's a Secrets to Passionate Self-Care. So if you sign up for this course by midnight tomorrow night, Thursday night, then you will get Secrets to Passionate Self-Care. And it's really, it'll be put into your course resources. And it's got a lot of really great ideas for how to take care of yourself. So again, here's the prices. I just wanted to show you one more time. And then also let you know what would happen when you sign up for this. So first of all, you'll be taken to a page that's called the sales page, and it'll give you the option to click in, and that's at silverhappiness.com/buy. And then if you sign up, you'll get this notice, and they'll take your credit card, and you'll complete your purchase. And then you'll get an email from me saying, welcome, so happy that you signed up, and details about how to access your course. And then this is what the course looks like. How to Be Happy Again, the guide you never got. And you can see there are videos that you can access on the left there. So that I just want to make you comfortable with what you're looking at here. And then, come on. Oh, we did that. So there's a couple of things. First of all, I could do this on my own, right? That's what people say to me. And the truth is you could, no question about it. But this is a lot, decades of what I had to discover in order to get as happy as I am today. And I've consolidated it so that you can access it very quickly. So could you do it on your own? Absolutely. I'm just trying to prevent you from having to spend a lot of time to get there. So does it really happen quickly? Yes. Yes. There are some tools in there that I promise you will use them over and over and over again and be thanking me for bringing them to your attention, or bringing them to your attention again because you forgot about them. Because, a lot of this stuff you may already know, but are you using it? That's the question. So I did promise you a bonus if you stayed to the end, and I can see that many of you did, and thank you for that. I want to make sure that I do give this to you. So I'm not sure if I can get who stayed to the end off of Zoom. Maybe I can, but I want to make sure. So just email me. I already have your email address anyhow, so you're not giving me anything I don't already have. Email me, silver@silverspeaks.com, and just put book into the subject area, and I will send you your book. It's a PDF of Change Your Focus of Your Outlook. And that's me on Mount Tamalpais on the cover. So now we're just going to do some questions and answers. So any of you, if you have any questions, if you can put it into the Q&A. I don't see any open questions now, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll hang out with you as long as you have any questions. Or if you have any comments that you want to put into the chat, you can do that. I'd love to hear from you. I just really appreciate your time, because I know it's time, it's your private time, and the fact that you've spent it with me is just very humbling. So, any questions? Do 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 do. Put into the chat one thing that you're going to walk away with. Oh, thank you, Pat. Nice to spend time with you too. Put in the chat one thing you're walking away with that you're going to use right away. This is course with no meds, right? Oh yeah, no meds. I am not a doctor, and I did not take meds when I was clinically depressed. I'm not against them. I have no opinion about it one way or the other, but I did not take medication, and so these are the tools I use to pull me out. Any other comments? I'm so happy you all are here. Okay, I'm going to focus on the. It could slip by me here. Hang on. Change my focus. I love that. I'm going to focus on the good things. Yay! See, thank you so much. I love that. Not worry about what isn't. Oh, Sylvia, excellent. Good for you. Because you know what? If you worry, you punish. Here's what happens. If it happens, you punish yourself twice. If it doesn't happen, you punish yourself needlessly. So why do it? I'm going to pretend I'm good. Great. I'm telling you, fake it till you make it. It does work, but you've got to also find something to focus on that is evidence that you're good. My inner critic is what lies to me, right? I'm going to work on not listening. Good. Or arguing with it. You know, if somebody was criticizing a friend of yours in front of you, wouldn't you argue with them? Argue with whoever's criticizing you. Sally, look for the good in everything. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't see any questions, and I'm reluctant to let y'all go because I always have fun talking to you. But yes, I'm going to argue like a good lawyer. Great. That's really great. I like that concept. I may steal that. Present your case. Present your case. Well, you all are great. I'm gonna now stop screen share so I can go full here on you and just say thank you again for spending this time with me. I hope to see you around. I hope some of you will take the course. And good night. Good night, Pat. Good night, Olivia, Sylvia. I'm trying to get all of your names. Sally, Lynn, Zoom, Pat. Great. Thank you for coming. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.